hero we need.
Yeah.
The other thing is
Harvey Dent vibe
right,
to Jim Irsay.
right. The other thing about him, the other thing, God bless Jim Irsay for this, is like, so I know Jeff Saturday. Right? I mean, I know him. I worked with him for a number of years at ESPN. I have his cell phone. I haven't texted him. I'm sure his phone's been blowing up. I will here in a couple of days when it dies down. But I've worked with him. There was a year at ESPN where we actually sat next to each other in the war room watching football games. He's been a guest on my show multiple times. So, I know him fairly well. And I will tell you this. He's awesome. He's an awesome human being. He is everything you see on TV. He is kind. He is intelligent. He is encouraging. He is warm. I believe he obviously has the credibility of having a great NFL playing career. He's a Colt. He's close with Peyton Manning. I think he will win over that locker room. I think there'll be some respect. I have no idea what kind of head coach he will be. I have no idea what kind of offense he will run or have. I don't think he knows either. That was one of the things that came out last night. Is I got to figure out who's going to call the plays.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Is that a problem?
Because they don't have anyone on the staff that has NFL experience at actually even calling a play. But what I will tell you is that he is a good human being. That I believe the players will, they will at least give him an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like he's a good human being. I think he'll have to lean on his coordinators in a big way here. And the other thing here is that last night there was all sorts of craziness that went on in the NFL, right?
Yeah,
there was,
sure.
right. So you have Irsay and you have Jeff Saturday. You have NFL reporters shirtless on national broadcasts. It was a bizarro world yesterday in the NFL, and yet. You know who wasn't being talked about? The Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
That's right. For one day, it was bat blank crazy in the NFL, and it wasn't because of the Commanders.
Yes.
There was no new lawsuits.
No one's
news.
in jail.
No news. No controversy coming out. No awful thing. No misspelling a legend's name. There was no this awful thing that happened 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 3 years ago that came out now, that happened under the watch of some of the people that are still there at the Commanders. So it was, yesterday was a great day.
Yeah. We should ask our friends at BetMGM to set a market on how long it's going to take Jeff Saturday to learn the fear of NFL coaches. I'm going to say it's about 17 and a half minutes of watching Sam Ellinger play quarterback on Sunday. But let's get into some Rotoworld headlines. And obviously Jeff Saturday does headline them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's...
All right, we're just going to skip the animation here.
Let's skip the animation. Let's hear from Jeff Saturday talking about who his offensive play caller is going to be.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. Let's listen to that.
Who will call plays on Sunday?
Yeah, I haven't made a decision yet, but I've interviewed guys, and I'm going to continue to interview guys on the staff and going through that. And I'll decide something this evening. But it's I'm drinking from a fire hydrant a little bit, so we're just we're trying to meet with everybody, get this done, and then I'll continue that part. The great part about this, and I'll just say this, is there are fantastic coaches on this staff and men who have done this a long time. There's former head coaches, but there are guys in that offensive room who have called a lot of games and a lot of plays, and there's a lot of men who have put a lot of time into this. So I have no fear. I will pick the right guy, and we will ride with it.
With all
let's
due respect,
ride. They'll ride with it. More riding. A lot of riding going on in the NFL this year, Jay Croucher.
With all due respect to Jeff Saturday, I think he's going to be drowning by the fire hydrant on Sunday. I think the Raiders -6.5 is one of the great bets of all time.
Well,
How is this team
right? It was -6 yesterday. Now it's up to
already
6.5.
I think it's going to close like 8. I mean,
Yeah.
how can you back the Colts +6.5 with Sam Ellinger? No one's ever called the plays. I mean, we should have like a Varsity Blues Friday Night Lights situation where Matt Ryan just becomes offensive coordinator.
Right.
Why not? He's probably more qualified than anyone else to be calling the plays.
Right, yeah, exactly. And Blue, the Colts mascot, who's a buddy who's great.
We can get him to
he'll come out in the whipped cream bikini. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like they're doing Varsity Blues. Let's go the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do that. All right.
Yeah.
So they're at the Raiders this week. Then they're home to the Eagles.
That's like a loss.
Home to the Steelers.
The line might be 20 in that game.
Cowboys.
The Cowboys, they have a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Micah Parsons gonna
it's
eat Sam
unbelievable,
Ellinger
right?
alive.
They're at Raiders, home to the Eagles, home to Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football.
Oh boy,
They might have to have more people take off their shirts to distract from that game.
Let's talk about some of the fantasy implications.
Here's what I would tell you. the fantasy implications is that this offense is a disaster. Since Sam Ehlinger took over, they're 31st in total yards per game. They're 31st in passing yards per game. He's QB 32 over the last 2 weeks. He's averaging 6.8 fantasy points per game. QB 32, do you know what that means? That means he is the worst quarterback in the NFL from a fantasy points per game basis.
That reconciles with what I've been seeing on tape from Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the offensive line can't block. It's a disaster. Now, they are playing the Las Vegas Raiders, so that's helpful at least, right? I mean, the Raiders are 25th against the pass over the last 4 weeks. They're a bottom 10 scoring defense. So if there is a matchup where the Colts could potentially move the ball, Jay Croucher, it would be this one. I mean, it feels like, again, like I was making a bunch of jokes, but it does feel like, hey, look, it is the meme of the dog sitting at the kitchen table with flames all around him. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. I mean, the Raiders aren't. The problem, though, if you're on the Colts, is that the Raiders are still an NFL team. They're still an NFL team. They've still got Max Crosby rushing Sam Ehlinger. I mean, I just think this, like, let's talk betting-wise. I think it's very difficult for any market to price what this means. Like, what is it worth? They've got no one who's ever called plays. This guy's getting called off the street, basically, NFL-wise, to be able to coach the team. That has to be worth at least 3 points to the line.
I mean, look, they were bad.
They're already bad.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. Pretend everyone's still in place.
Yeah.
I mean, right, so the line opened at 6. The line, assuming Frank Reich was the coach, the line opened at 6.
It has to be worth more than half a point. Just has to be.
You would think so.
Yeah.
I will tell you a couple of things here. So first off, they're going to, Irsay might be crazy like a fox, right? The upcoming NFL, no, hang on, seriously. He may be crazy like a fox because, he can't blatantly tank, right? I mean, we saw what happened, with the accusations, in Miami and everything like that. He can't blatantly tank.
No.
But he can hire Ted Lasso, right? For people who are unfamiliar with the premise of Ted Lasso is a college football coach who is hired by the owner of a soccer team.
Yes.
At least at the beginning of the series, to try to tank the team. Like he's hired there, he's the wrong fit for the team, and he's purposely hired, not because she's a moron, but because she's desperately wants him to tank the team. And then, anyway, it's a great series. Highly recommend Ted Lasso. But what I would say is, so maybe this is all an attempt to try to, get a low draft pick in a draft that is expected to be, with a lot of blue chip quarterback prospects and should be a very healthy NFL draft. So maybe he's crazy like a fox here.
Yeah. If I was a coach in the NFL, I would really be wanting the Colts to lose by 40. Because if Jeff Saturday comes in and beats the Raiders, how do you feel if you're like Brandon Staley or whatever? It's like, this job's easy. Anyone can coach in the NFL.
Louis Riddick, also a friend of mine, former colleague from ESPN, highly respected in NFL circles and at ESPN. He tweeted just, bruh.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that sums it up.
Right. Because Louis Riddick has been considered for, front office position. Anyway, there's lots to unpack with this story. For our show's purposes, we'll let Mike Florio and Pro Football Talk and Chris Sims and the Unbuttoned crew dive into the NFL implications of all this. And but what I can tell you from a fantasy perspective here is that I think you're probably still starting with your nose held and your eyes closed. You're probably still starting Michael Pittman and Deion Jackson or Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
We'll see if Taylor is out. I think the concern here is if you have Taylor, is that if they're just on full-on tank mode, even though they won't actually say it, why are you going to put more mileage on Jonathan Taylor, who's a franchise player?
Yeah, and
why
the
don't you just
season
keep
at
him
this
out?
point, I know they've got 3 wins and they're in the AFC South, but the season has to be basically a write-off at this point. And Taylor with the ankle sprain, he's having Saquon Barkley's season last year. You should just sit him and get him right. So that's why Deion Jackson just has to be rostered everywhere.
Everywhere, and I do think just the volume of work he'll get there. You'll see some Zach Moss or whatever, but I just think the volume for those two guys, regardless of who's calling plays, the playbook's going to be the playbook. It's not like all of a sudden they're going to all right, now we're going single wing or something like that. They've got the plays that they've been running under Frank Reich here for a number of years. They're going to continue to use that playbook. Yep. It's just picking all right, are we doing a pass or again.
Would you be trying to trade Jonathan Taylor? Because he still has the name Jonathan Taylor. It was only 3 months ago that he's getting picked number 1 overall in drafts. There is still some sheen there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on a couple of things here. Where let's play a little bit of a name game,
Sure.
if you will, in terms of some potential guys that you might trade for. I will say in general, it depends on where you are in the season. Are you right? So as we enter week 10 of the NFL, are you 6-3 and feeling pretty good about yourself? Or are you 4-5 and you're like, I gotta win? So if you have a little bit of a cushion here, you're 7-2, you're 6-3, and you're like, then at that point, I don't mind either trading for Jonathan Taylor, hoping he comes back soon, and or taking a flyer on him, because you would think in a dumbed down offense they would just kind of just ride him heavily. But I do think there's a chance that he gets shut down here as well, just because again, if they're in kind of tank mode. If I need to win now, if I could get a usable piece for him, somebody that is a no-brainer starter, not an elite guy, because Taylor's value is lower than it's ever been all season right now, given the chaotic mess and he hasn't played.
Now, this is
give me some suggestions.
This is an incredible question, given where Taylor was drafted. But would you rather have Michael Carter or Jonathan Taylor?
I mean, the fact that I'm pausing should tell you everything.
I think it might rather have Carter.
I think it's probably Carter, just because I know, but Taylor's been bad, and
he's had one of the greatest running back seasons in NFL history.
I'm with you, and they've got James Robinson there, but that's still going to be a run-heavy team. The Jets are, and they're going to be competitive in most games.
Let's race through a few of these.
Quickly.
Cordaro Patterson.
I'd rather have Patterson.
Okay, Devin Singletary.
Well, let's wait.
Let's
see exactly the next news item.
All right, David Montgomery.
I'm just Taylor still.
Okay, Ezekiel Elliott. To me, that's just a coin flip. I don't think you can make a right or wrong choice there.
I'm going to say Zeke, because you know why? Zeke's going to play.
Yeah, he will. Okay, quickly, same thing with Michael Pittman. Would you rather have Michael Pittman or Terry McLaurin?
McLaurin.
Yep. Jerry Jeudy.
Michael Pittman.
DJ Moore.
Pittman.
Alan Lazard. I think I'd rather have Pittman.
Yeah. But it's close. That, just to give you an idea of how that's the range we're in with these guys. Yeah. If you can stick it out with Taylor and Pittman, I would, just because their value is so low right now.
Yep.
And hopefully they have a big game. It's a good matchup against the Raiders. And so if Taylor's active, he probably hopefully gets into the end zone here. Again, Pittman's going to get 9 targets in this thing, and so it's a disaster, but I'm probably hanging tough. Hopefully you can get a good game and then you can trade him.
Yep.
But if you need to win this week, I understand the panic and wanting, give me somebody that I know I can get production out of, because just who knows with what's going on with the Colts.
Yep. I think if you there will be people who have a situation where they have Devin Singletary on their bench, and if you're riding high, if you're 7-2 and you're just thinking about the playoffs, then you might trade Devin Singletary for Jonathan Taylor, just so you get a free crack at the upside, because Taylor could be a top 5 running back in the last 4 weeks of the season.
Sure.
You just don't know. Now, speaking of Devin Singletary, we're going to talk about Josh Allen now, but first let's hear from Sean McDermott on Josh Allen's elbow.
We're just going through it, still evaluating, and we'll see where it goes. I'll know more the next 24 hours, and then probably be able to check in with you guys back on it on Wednesday again. The one definite thing I can tell you is we all know Josh and how competitive he is, and he loves to compete, loves to be out there with his teammates. I would never count him out, but that's the one thing I do know about him is that right now the medical piece we're still evaluating, and I'll know more again for myself even tomorrow morning a little bit more, and then I'll next talk to you guys on Wednesday, and I'll update you that.
So that was Sean McDermott talking about Josh Allen, who has a UCL injury, got a snap back on the strip sack on second down against the Jets on that last drive. Now, as soon as I heard that, you know what I did, Matthew Berry?
What did you do?
I went to BetMGM, and I bet on Patrick Mahomes to win MVP. I bet on the Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC title and the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, because that is very concerning. When he's talking about, I know Josh Allen can, gut it out, the fact that they don't have a definitive diagnosis yet, and who knows, news could break any moment that will just change everything, but I would certainly be concerned about Josh Allen right now.
Yeah, look, anytime a franchise player, and that's what he is, right? To the NFL, to fantasy teams, he was the number one quarterback, drafted in pretty much every fantasy league. He's the number one quarterback in fantasy so far in a points per game basis. The Bills are number one in total yards per game. They're third in passing yards per game. Josh Allen is a superstar, backwards, forwards, however you want to categorize it. So the question now becomes, what do you do if you're the Buffalo Bills? I don't want to over-panic, and I don't want to panic yet. Like, we're waiting to hear, and this is kind of a Sean McDermott is sort of a, from what I understand, this is kind of a typical answer, right? I will see on Wednesday. But the fact that there's even a conversation is eyebrow raising.
Yep.
I don't mind your bets that you would make, as Joe Buscaglia says here on Twitter, at Joe Buscaglia, and Joe's covered the team for years. For reference, McDermott will usually point to them, quote, still evaluating an injured player the day after the game. A pretty common answer from him. I wouldn't draw any conclusions, either good or bad, from just those answers today. That is, again, Joe on Twitter, Joe Buscaglia. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. I apologize, Joe, if I'm not.
Pick'em Buscaglia versus Buscaglia, but we'll go with it. Yeah.
Sure, it was Buscaglia. I mean, it might be Buscaglia. I don't know. I apologize to Joe, but he does a great job. Either way, followed him for years. Here's what I would do. So I understand why you bet by Mahomes, Chiefs, all that. That makes sense. From a fantasy football perspective, I think I'm picking up Case Keenum today, just in case. Because here's what I would tell you about Case Keenum. And again, I've used this phrase a lot. He's a professional quarterback. And I don't mean that in any kind of slight. Like, he's solid. And anyone that is going to be in a pass-heavy offense with Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis and Isaiah McKenzie and, Khalil Shakur and, they now have some nice pass-catching running backs, not only Singletary, but they've added Nyheim Hines. Like, that is going to be fantasy relevant, especially against a Vikings defense that is 30th against the pass over the last 4 weeks. Case Keenum revenge game. Hashtag revenge game.
Yeah, I mean, Colts might win the division if they had Case Keenum at quarterback, honestly. Like, he is good enough that he will be able to play to his weapons, and Buffalo has almost as many weapons as anyone.
He's not going to be as good as Josh Allen because he's not, and he won't have the rushing upside that Josh Allen does, but I think to the extent you have a Bills player other than Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, for example, he's going to be fine. Case Keenum will be able to get the ball. I'm not worried if and this is all if Josh Allen misses time. We will cover the story throughout the week. What I would just tell you as you head into waivers tonight is that be aware that there is a possibility, and I can't put any percentage on it, but there is at least there's a non-zero chance, Jay, that Josh Allen misses time.
Absolutely.
And so you want to be prepared for that. And so whether it is picking up Case Keenum or picking up some other streamer in your league, if you don't have a second quarterback, I would assume most people in one quarterback leagues that have Josh Allen are only rostering Josh Allen, because why would you ever need a second quarterback? He's Josh Allen.
Absolutely. And you talked about the non-zero chance. That's why the Chiefs are the bet right now, because the betting market, BetMGM, makes the Chiefs plus 550 to win the Super Bowl, plus 275 to win the AFC. Those prices are pricing in Josh Allen definitely being there, and there is the chance that he's not there. And then if he's not there for 2-3 weeks, whatever, the Chiefs become the favorite to get the 1 seed. And also, even if he is there, you're still riding with Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's not like your bet falls apart. You just get a free swing at the upside. Let's jump.
I like that call. By the way, after the Vikings, it's the Browns, and then they're at Detroit for the Thanksgiving Day game. So decent schedule here for Case Keenum if he does have to step in for Josh Allen. But we will hope for the best and follow that story closely.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about Monday Night Football. Usually we lead with Monday Night Football, but it wasn't an amazing game, so we decided to go with the great Jim Irsay instead.
Yeah.
But here are the fantasy football top performers last night. It's the Kenyon Drake Show. 24.9 fantasy points. He got the 2 touchdowns, 24 carries was the big surprise. Lamar Jackson, a subpar game from him, though. He didn't kill you, helps you with the rushing yards. And then everywhere else, it was pretty disappointing. Outside of Juwan Johnson, who if you streamed him as a tight end, or he was on your roster anyway, he delivered with the touchdown.
He had the one big play, basically.
And that's all you need out of the tight end position these days.
By the way, God bless, because I was down like 2 points in a matchup, and I was done, and the guy that I'm playing had the Ravens defense, and it was just like neck and neck. And this is one of the leagues where I'm just like, every week, like I lose by like 3 points to like the highest score. Like I'm literally third in total points in this league, and I'm like 5-4 or something like that. It was super frustrating, but finally one went my way, because when Juwan Johnson ran that touchdown, the way the defensive scoring in this league, where cost the guy 2 points, ended up winning by 1 point.
It's not our happy hour league, is it?
What?
It's not our happy hour league.
No. I got destroyed in our league.
Oh, really? What happened
Yeah,
there?
stupid.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah, stupid Brian Rubin and his dumb Joe Mixon.
3 days in a row references for Brian Rubin.
Because when Brian Rubin is working on another show here, and
Yeah.
then, and it's probably gonna it's
Brother from Another.
Yeah, it's gonna be on. I'm not sending him to Brother for Another. No. He's going to like Oxygen or something. He's going to one of our we're sending him to you have no idea. Like NBC Sports Net Alaska or something.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
One of our.
Get him doing some curling.
Make no mistake. Oh yeah. He's done. B. Rubes is done.
Yeah,
it's all right though. He had a good run.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Let's talk about some of these.
But all I was going to say is, that I don't know that there's much takeaway here. I mean, Kenyon Drake is available in a lot of leagues. He got 86% of the running back carries. The problem is that on the Ravens side of the ball, let's just talk about them for a second. They're on a bye next week. And so, you want to pick, Jim Harbaugh said J.K. Dobbins is 3 to 4 weeks away from returning. We don't know the status of Gus Edwards. I don't mind hanging on to Kenyon Drake through the bye just because we just don't know the status of Edwards. And so when they come out of the bye, they play the Carolina Panthers. And so as you see Drake just walk into an end zone right there, had a really nice game. They just dominated, and Drake, give credit what credit's due. Kenyon Drake had a nice game here in a game in which not a lot went right for the Ravens offense. They were able to run the ball effectively and run it with Kenyon Drake, who had 86% of the Ravens running back carries and 60% of the team's total carries. This was a season high for him in terms of touches of game. He had 26 in that one.
They have a very friendly schedule after the bye. They get Carolina. They're going to be big favorites in each of their next 4
Then Jacksonville and then home to Denver. And so I don't mind holding on to Kenyon Drake through the bye in case Gus Edwards isn't ready to come back. And once again, he's the starter in a really nice matchup 2 weeks from now against the Panthers. Other than that, the only other person that I might consider holding on to through the bye, outside of obviously Lamar Jackson, which are hanging on to him, would be Isaiah Likely.
Sure.
Just because we don't know the status yet of Mark Andrews. I get it. It wasn't as big a game as you would have hoped, but the Saints are one of the best teams in the NFL against tight ends. He got 5 targets in this game, and I think there was the one play down the sideline that if Lamar Jackson hits him in stride, that's a big play and possibly a touchdown. He did score. He's caught one ball, and that was a touchdown. So thank you very much. Isaiah Likely anytime touchdown was one of our best bets yesterday. That one cashed. Thank you very much. By the way, as did Justin Tucker, over 1.5 field goals.
Kenyon Drake over that hit too. And we got the Ravens on the money line as well.
Over. Ravens money line hit, as did Andy Dalton, primetime, anytime interception, over 0.5 interceptions.
World makes more sense when Andy Dalton throws picks in primetime.
Isaiah Likely over 40 receiving yards did not hit, and Alvin Kamara over 4.5 receptions did not hit. But otherwise,
overall, we made money.
We made money. I think we went 6-2 again in our best bets for Monday Night Football last night.
But that did not make money, though, was the Saints' offense, which was a bit of a disaster.
The only thing I was going to say is unlikely, just to finish up the conversation on Likely here just for 1 second, is that I think I'm encouraged by the 5 targets and the number of routes he ran, and that if Andrews were to miss, again, they have the Carolina Panthers. We just don't know the severity of Andrews' injury.
Yep.
But I do think if you can hold on to Likely, I think it's worth it. Again, I think you might look at this and the 1 reception for 5, but 5 targets, and again, the Saints are so good against tight ends. I think the upside of Likely is worth hanging on to him through the bye if you can.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about those Saints. Alvin Kamara really did nothing last night. 9 carries for 30 yards, 3 receptions for 32 yards. Obviously didn't give his managers anything close to what they were hoping for, and it's a pretty grim scene when the only guy who really performed was Juwan Johnson. I mean, Cris Olave didn't have a bad game, but he didn't get in the end zone, didn't do too much, and it's looking a little bit bleak for the Saints offense.
But I think it's yes, I mean, we could sit here and talk about what went wrong for the Saints, but I think for our purposes in the world of fantasy football, there isn't anything to take away, which is the stuff that you would normally do with the Saints offense. You're still starting Alvin Kamara next week. Who do they play? They play the Steelers. They're at Pittsburgh next week.
Yep.
You're still starting Alvin Kamara. You're still starting Cris Olave, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, you want to stream Juwan Johnson. He had one big play. It was basically a missed tackle, and he runs down the end zone. He doesn't step out. Thank goodness. But the only question here is does Andy Dalton get benched here? as we talked about on the show, like on the pre-show meeting, actually, this game is off the board, at least when we hit air.
Yeah. It's, fantasy-wise, I kind of hope he does get benched just because it's a more fun offense with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston had the highest, deepest average depth of target in the league. It probably increases Chris Olave's value just because there's more chance at the big plays as opposed to dump off Andy Dalton.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping for Winston. I think that'll be better for Olave, just better for the offense in general. Although, Dalton has been good for Kamara. But ultimately, it just bad day at the office against a tough and now fully healthy Ravens defense.
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.